Okay, I believe I am now live. Can't see anyone in chat yet, but that's okay because I actually didn't give anybody any warning whatsoever. Actually, I can see two people here. So, welcome in. I thought that I should probably just pop up and do a quick live to let people know what cases I'm covering at the moment, to let people know what I'm planning on covering, to let people know what to look out for. I've noticed that lately my videos haven't necessarily been getting out into the algorithm, so I thought I would just jump in and touch base with everyone this way first. So welcome to everyone who's coming in. I'm going to start by just talking about my other platforms for those of you who may or may not be aware of them. So you may not be aware, but I have recently started a TikTok where I do brief videos on my cases. Hi there, Donalyn. Good to see you popping in. Okay, so I will comment too, because I'm so ADHD, when I greet people, I do get distracted. So I will do the greetings at the beginning before I really launch in, but after that, I will be basically trying to stick to my notes. So hi, Gamey, hi, Jeanette. Good to see you in here. Oh, good to see people actually rolling in. So this is great. So as I mentioned, and I can see the people on screen are no doubt aware of it, I have a TikTok now where I do just short videos on the cases I'm covering or cases that are coming up that I'm about to cover. I also have a Rumble account. Now, you may not be familiar with Rumble. It's a very, very small platform. A lot of people don't know it's there. I haven't actually posted much on there for quite some time. But one of my followers on Rumble suggested that I should probably let my viewers here on YouTube know that I have a Rumble account. So after I finish this live, I will add the link for my Rumble account underneath this live. I will start adding the occasional video in Rumble that is a Rumble only video, just for those people who are interested in a different platform. It just helps me get my channel out there a bit more. Hello to everyone who is coming in. This is really great. And of course, as you know, I also have a Patreon account. Now, as we get closer to Stearns' trial, there may be more documents, who knows? But there is a multitude of documents on my Patreon account from Maddie's case. All those documents are there for free. All you have to do is basically sign up to my Patreon, and then that's free also. So Patreon, for me, anything on there is free. You basically just sign up, and then you can access whatever documents you want on there. There's plenty more that I haven't added yet. There will be documents coming up from some of the other cases that I am covering also, which you will be able to gain access to. So I can see there are still more people coming in, so welcome. And I'll just comment again, I am super ADHD, so I tend to just scan over the comments in my live stream. I tend not to respond to them too much because otherwise I lose the flow of what I'm talking about. And because I am so very ADHD, you will just get a long pause while I try and access my brain again, which is not ideal on a live stream. That's fine on a pre-recorded video because I can edit that out. But on a live stream, you don't want to sit there while I stare at the wall for 30 seconds and think, what was I talking about? So, I've mentioned my different platforms, TikTok, Rumble, Patreon. The links for all of them will be below this. I'll add them after I finish this live stream. Now, just a few little bits of housekeeping. Please do hit that like button for me. That helps get this out there into the algorithm and it also helps that people know that I am currently live. If you are watching after the live stream, so if you are rewatch crew, please make sure to hit the like and leave a comment, because then that way they'll keep this moving in the algorithm. Now, just a few other things. We don't feed the trolls here, so if any trolls do pop up, we just ignore them. I do have a mod in the background who knows who to get rid of, knows when to get rid of, all that sort of thing, so you guys don't need to worry about them. I don't restrain people in terms of what you can say in the comments section. My only two things I ask is that, just so that this doesn't get flagged, if you are saying words that YouTube doesn't like, can you misspell them or find a creative way of spelling them so that YouTube doesn't get upset? Also, in terms of naming other content creators, I prefer not to name other content creators here in the chat section of my videos. Okay, now before I move on, also, I just wanted to mention, for those of you who are members, or for anyone who is considering membership, I will be doing another prize draw at the end of this month. I'll do a video on that for members shortly, so you can see what's available. And I will be trying to get another members only video out this week. In terms of membership, I'm not sure if it's value for money. I occasionally put videos out that are members only videos. I do aim to do them once a week, but that just sometimes doesn't happen. A lot of the time they're just ones that are either just a less formal case chat, talking more about my own opinions, where I'm a bit freer to express myself, and then sometimes they might be personal things like photos or videos of the dogs, or things that I go and do. So that's kind of what is there in membership. Of course, membership does help support my channel. It's one of those regular sources of income that does keep my channel going. Now I'm going to move on and talk about what is coming up in terms of content with my channel, because I realise that there's a few cases that I've started on that maybe aren't well known, and I think there might be people who are not really aware of what these cases are about. But I also want to talk about where I'm headed with cases like Jack and Lily and Maddie. So I'm going to start with talking about Jack and Lily. So yeah, I am live. I just thought it was a good time to just do a pop-up live. I don't normally do lives, but I wanted to because I've got so much content to talk about. So Jack and Lily, I'm not buying into all those extras. I'm not going to talk about them on my channel other than for specific reasons, and I'll get to that in a moment. So I'm really not buying into the whole, let's talk about all these extras and create videos every day so we can talk about the drama between the extras. That's not my style. So I'll be sticking to factual information when it comes to Jack and Lily. It looks like we may be rid of Durwood possibly finally. Seems that people have finally realised that he is nothing but a grifter. So fingers crossed he might be off the scene. In terms of the other extras, I am considering getting hold of audio from other channels of some of these extras that have dropped in, and doing speech analysis basically over what they are saying. and also comparing what they are saying to what is known in terms of factual information. It depends. I'd have to listen to what they've said first, because the channels that they go to I don't support or follow. I will, of course, be continuing to do my shorter videos for Jack and Lily, where I present factual information in little nuggets, so that people who are getting caught up by all the rumours and forgetting what is actual fact can just access those quickly and get reminders of what is actual fact and what is truthful, as opposed to the many stories that are out there. And of course, I am going to do and that's one of my things that I need to work on today, I'm going to do a focus on what we do know directly from the RCMP, because that is the most important thing for us to focus on with Jack and Lily. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten that and become distracted by all the added narratives. I mean, there's a lot of channels that are covering this case, and I know someone got upset with me for referring to them as the Summerwells crowd, but to me that seems like the perfect description, because basically what they are is there's this little group of channels who took over the Summerwells case, and they took over the narrative, and they started introducing all these random people, which was about the time when I stopped following the Summerwells case, because I don't even know half the time when I look at the thumbnails with Summerwells who these people are that they're referring to now. And the same people that did that with the Summerwells case have come onto this case and are basically doing the same thing. They're introducing all these new characters to the case, and that's becoming the main focus of the case. And people seem to have forgotten that we've got 2 little kids that have gone missing. So that's what I mean when I refer to the Summerwells case. So for any creators out there who are offended because they have covered Summerwells and think that I am having a go at them specifically, I am not. I am basically referring to the creators, and I'm not going to name them on this live, but I'm referring to the creators who do introduce these extra people and spend these entire live streams focusing on these random extras and have nothing to do with Jack and Lily. Okay, I'm just going to... Okay, am I still here? Give me one in the chat if I'm back. I made a huge mistake just then, and I basically went to I'd forgotten to put focus on. I'm still here, good, okay. I had notifications popping up on my screen, and I flicked it down to put it on focus, and it dropped my microphone out, so I thought I was gone. But it's good to see I'm still here. Now what I was talking... Oh, right, so talking about the other channels and just the too much focus on extras. So that's what I mean when I talk about the Summerwells crowd. So anyone who is upset at me for referring to the Summerwells crowd and think that I am trying to insult them, I'm not insulting them. I'm insulting the people who turned Summer's case into a circus and who are now doing the same thing. Oh, I've got a few people popping in, yay. So continuing with Jack and Lily, actually before I do, I'll just say for those people who've just popped in, I don't do the jumping in and saying hello to everyone, because I get distracted and I lose the flow of what I'm saying. And also, I hate going into live streams where someone spends the first 5 minutes just naming every single person in their live stream. That does my head in, so it's not something that I choose to do. Now, another thing I want to talk about in terms of Jack and Lily on my channel is Belinda, and I'm going to do a video about her because I feel that what's happened with her is that she's been taken advantage of, and then people have tried to use her to further their own agendas, and now people are turning on her. And this is a grandmother whose grandchildren are missing, and I can see the origins of where that is coming from, but I think it's utterly disgusting, so I will be doing a video addressing that. I'm not sure if there's anything else that I need to mention in terms of where I'm headed with Jack and Lily right now, but it will all be, based on factual information, based on what we know, based on solid stuff, not looking at all the many, many stories that have been put out there, because it's just a joke. And it is so sad to think that people have forgotten the purpose of actually being here. There was a YouTube channel that I don't normally watch, and something popped up with him, and it was something to do with Belinda Gray, and I thought, well, okay, I want to see what he's talking about. And in that video, he actually said, I'm not here about Jack and Lily. I'm here about all these people that are part of the case. And I thought, well, at least you're honest, but thanks, I'm clicking off your channel, I'm going now, I'm not going to watch you anymore. And it made me realise that there really are a lot of people that aren't there for Jack and Lily. So my goal is to make sure that I'm still putting out content on a semi-regular basis that is for Jack and Lily, even if it is just breaking down into smaller topics and covering them. Now, I'm going to move on to talking about Maddie. We are getting so close to trial. It's like less than 10 days now till jury selection begins. Here it's the 14th of July. So for you guys, it must be about 9 days till the trial begins. Well, for all of us, but that was a really dumb, so very ADHD thing to say. It's the same number of days for all of us. So that was just, yeah, anyway. 22nd is when jury selection begins, so that is right around the corner. I'm really looking forward to watching Will J in action, because I think he's going to be a real treat. Now, in the meantime, in the lead up to the trial, there's a few things that I want to talk about. So I've done a little bit of digging, and I have gotten hold of, through the archives, the Rockin' Kit Kat thing that Jennifer Soto did. So that was her live journal that she did. Unfortunately, because it is through the archives, I haven't been able to access the comments that people made on her journal, but I do have all the posts from that journal now, which I will be doing I will be doing a video about. Spell check. Oh, your spell check. Sorry, distracted there. I thought that I was being told I'd spelt something wrong in my title or something. So I will be doing a video on the Rockin' Kit Kat, just to have a look at the statements that were made there, because I think that is a little bit interesting. As mentioned, I do want to take a closer look at some of the things that Deb and Chris Stearns said in their early interviews with law enforcement. I haven't actually done any sort of analysis of them. I have commented on things they've said, but I think I would like to try and do an analysis of them prior to the trial, because I think there's a lot of misinformation now coming out too in terms of that. I'm contemplating doing a video about this whole fangirl turf war that's going on with Stephen Stearns, because I find that incredibly fascinating. And I am considering looking at that from a psychological standpoint, in terms of why people do this whole fangirl thing with people like Stefan, because he's utterly disgusting, and the last thing I can think of is ever making contact with him. I would never ever want to have contact with him, not even for the sake of creating interesting content. I would rather just sit back and wait for things to come out in FOIA, because honestly, I just, he disgusts me. So I will probably do a video talking about this whole turf war that's going on with the Stephen Stearns fangirls. There is another one another analysis that I'm working on in the background. I'm not sure if it will be public or it'll be a members only one, but a deep dive, a deeper analysis of this add-on flatmate. As you can understand, there's reasons why I may not go public with it. And it may not be for a little while. Okay, just have to turn the page here, so I apologise for the noise. Used a very little notepad, sorry. I have also put in a few additional FOIAs with Maddie's case. I don't know if there's anything that's going to be released in the near future, but I thought it's been a month since my last FOIA, so I thought I would just jump in and do a FOIA anyway and ask for a few different things. We'll see if anything comes of that. Possibly not, given that we are so close to trial. I would imagine that anything that could be released probably won't be released now till after the trial, just because of time constraints on the people involved with giving the go-ahead for release of new documents, etc. Okay, so there will be plenty more that I'm talking about with Maddie's case, obviously. I do want to backtrack as well in the lead up to the trial and try and do a few short videos as well relating to Maddie's case, just to get her name back out there again and just, remind people of what we're looking at. Now, a case that I have started covering, and I've done one video so far, but I will be doing another video on this week, and that is the Leo Escalante case. This is an absolutely devastating case of a little 2-year-old boy. Now, the reason it's so devastating is that the man who was responsible for what happened to Leo should never have had access to this little boy. He has had multiple counts against him already relating to DV, not just of Leo's mother, who was his ex-girlfriend, but also of his girlfriend before that. He actually had a non-contact order with the mother of Leo. So Leo shouldn't have been anywhere near him, but Leo's mother needed to get her nails done. So she decided to leave Leo in the care of this James Vanderleest and this poor little 2-year-old boy. Now, we don't know exactly what happened yet. It's a very, very new case, and FOIA is just not happening at the moment. But what I do know is that Leo died 2 days after whatever James Vanderleest did to him occurred. So this little boy suffered for 2 days after whatever happened. So this is a case that is very, very new. James Vanderleest and his father David Vanderleest have both recently been arrested, and basically that's about all we have at this point in time. I will be doing a new video where I go through all James's existing charges, the charges that were already there before this occurred, because this guy should have been in jail. He had 9 jumping bail offences prior to when this happened, and 3 of those were felony, jumping bail felony. So you have jumping bail misdemeanor and jumping bail felony. He had 3 felony jumping bail charges, and he was still out. He was still free, and this is what happened. So, major failing of the justice system there. Had the justice system actually locked this guy up for all these jumping bail offences, Leo would still be around. So I am going to look at all his charges, and I'm going to have a look at some charges that were raised against his father in the past, because it seems like while his father is trying to claim that he was Mr. Innocent and he didn't flee with his son when he heard that his son was going to be arrested. No, he fled to his son because he was afraid that his son might end himself. Which is a complete utter lie, because basically, so I should back up there. Both of them basically put themselves into a cabin, went to a family member's cabin, they holed up in that cabin and were not going to come out, and law enforcement had to throw a flash bomb into that cabin before they could actually arrest them. And yet they were claiming that they weren't resisting arrest. So there's so much here with this case, it's just disgusting. But I will definitely be looking at charges that already exist against James and past charges against David. In terms of FOIA requests, that's a bit challenging at the moment because it is so fresh. Nothing is being made available, but we're still working on that, and as soon as we can get hold of any documents, then I'll be sharing them with you. The other side of this wonderful father and son duo, the son tried to pressure the mother of Leo to say that she had left Leo with his father, and he tried to get his father to say that Leo was in his care, because obviously he didn't want them to know that it was him who was responsible. He also claimed that Leo fell down the stairs, even though Leo's injuries are not slightly consistent with falling down the stairs. So I will be definitely doing a lot more on that case. I'll be bringing you up to date with anything new that comes out there. I know Plunder is looking at it. I'm not sure if she's decided to cover it yet, but she is aware of it and possibly maybe covering it on her channel, which would be great. Now, an old case that some of you may remember. The case of Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins. Now, I did a video on them a long time ago. This is a case that I've followed for quite some time. And this was two little girls who were cousins, and they were quite young, I think 8 and 10. And this is going back to July of 2012, I believe it was. This is, like I said, it's a really old case. Okay, let's hope they don't go totally Burko. Now, these two girls went out bike riding, and they went further than they should have done. Because, you know, when you're 8 and 12, you do these things. And they went missing. They found their bikes later in the day, but the girls just vanished. They found their remains, I think it was about 6 months later, in an area that was about a 40-minute drive from Evansdale, which is where they went missing. And this case has been it's unsolved. So we've been waiting for something to happen in this case. And it's possible that there may be some progress occurring at this point in time. So I'm going to do a video that's going to give more of a breakdown in this Evansdale case, for those of you who are not familiar with it. And I'm also going to bring you up to date with the new information that is coming out. Now, another video, I got so much that I'm working on at the moment. I actually never got around to putting anything out yesterday because I was so busy researching, and I just kind of got so sidetracked with all my research that I never got as far as actually putting anything out. But another video that I want to cover, because this is leading up to a series that I'm planning on doing after Stearns' trial, but I'm going to put out a video on what one of my members has referred to, and I think it is a good way of referring to it, and that is the Truckucky 3. You will probably have heard of the Kylie Rodney case, and I will be doing an extended series that covers everything to do with Kylie's case after Stearns' trial. But a video that I'm going to be working on this week is going to be highlighting the Truckucky 3. And what I'm referring to there is that after Kylie Rodney was found, there were two other young people who were found not alive, because I hate trying to get the right words with YouTube. There were two other people who were found not alive in suspicious circumstances. One of those people was a girl called Trinity Backus, and the other one was a young man called Dante Delator. Neither of their cases have been resolved, and their cases have appeared to have been squashed, in that no information has come out ever since. I believe that, from memory, I have to check all this, I believe from memory that Trinity's case was deemed not suspicious, even though she was found in an area of woods where basically they had to use chainsaws to get to her, to actually find her. And there were a lot of suspicious things, such as there was no indication that she'd been scratched by branches or anything, and she had bare feet, but they were totally clean. and there was no indication of injuries. And yes, Kylie, definitely. Kylie Rodney, if you are not familiar with her case, she supposedly, we're supposed to believe that Kylie drove her vehicle into a reservoir and drowned. The thing is, there was no water in her lungs, and there are so many other things that prove that there's no way known that Kylie drove herself into that reservoir. So I will be doing a massive deep dive into Kylie's case. Basically like a long form documentary type thing where I basically pull it apart so thoroughly. Now, the other person in the Truckucky 3 is Dante Delator. He was, both Trinity and Dante were 16, I believe. I hope I'm correct there. Let me know if I'm wrong. If you are familiar with this case, I will definitely brush up on my facts before I do the video on this, obviously. Dante went to collect some samples for a school project, and he vanished. And they found him not alive at a roadside, like truck stop area. But the thing is, people tried to FOIA the. Okay, Mod, can you look? I'm a silent fan page. I don't know who you are, but I don't tolerate people coming into my live and telling people to go across to your live. So, Mod, could you just please send them on their merry way? They can go off and do their live stream, and they can stay out of my live stream. Okay, so going back to what I was talking about, Dante, people tried to do FOIA requests for his autopsy and basically got denied. And his case has gone very, very quiet. There's been no information given with regards to cause of death or anything like that. So they are the three that I refer to when it comes to the Truckucky 3. But the thing is, there are others. There are other suspicious things going on around the time that Kylie died, and I will be covering them in depth. But I will be doing an initial video where I talk about the Truckucky 3, because basically it does appear that Trinity and Bacchus do have some connections. Trinity and Dante do have connections to Kylie's case. Now, another case that you may have spotted, or you may not have spotted, because I've noticed that it doesn't seem to be getting out into the algorithm right now, is a case that could be referred to in a few different ways. There is the Brock family murders, or it may be referred to as the TikTok killer. And this is a case of a 16-year-old girl and her family. So I will back up a bit before I go too deep. So in February of this year, Kristen Brock. Okay, Mod, can you please deal with these people who are, I don't know who they are, but they can sod off. There is Kristen Brock and her husband James Brock. They were 41 and 45. And in February of this year, their 5-year-old or 6-year-old daughter found them in bed, not alive. They had both been shot. The thing was, there was no evidence of a break-in. There was no evidence of a disturbance. They didn't even keep a gun in the house. They'd never owned a gun. And the gun was never found. So now fast forward to July, and this 17-year-old daughter has been arrested. Turns out she was the one who was responsible. It appears that, okay, I'm not sure if my mod is still in here because I'm still seeing comments from this individual. So just bear with me for a minute, people. While I do that. Okay. They're gone. Sorry about that. It's possible that my mod may have fallen asleep. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to drag you out here. Okay, where was I? I was talking about this case with Sarah Grace Patrick. She basically spent, 4 or 5 months going on TikTok crying about the loss of her parents, telling people how utterly devastated she was about the loss of her parents. She even, in June this year, contacted several content creators and asked them to cover her parents' case because she wanted the case to get more exposure, which is just unreal because basically she wanted the attention. And in the press conference, they mentioned that there could be more charges coming down the pipeline. And I did a little bit of research, and it turns out that this young girl had had a few boyfriends in the past. One when she was 15, who is currently up on charges with relation to possession of firearms, stuff relating to drugs. So he was bad news. And then after him, and her parents weren't so keen on her being involved with him in any way. After him, more recently, she ended up in a relationship with a guy who is much, much older than her. And I've really dug to see if I can find out who this guy is. But he's never commented on any of her social media since what happened with her parents happened. So it appears that he's been kind of hidden from the scene. But she wasn't allowed to see him, from what I can gather. There were extreme restrictions placed on her with relation to her relationship with this much, much older guy. And it has been suggested that someone definitely helped Sarah Grace because she's too young to have got hold of a firearm herself. She was 16 when this occurred. Like I said, there were no firearms kept in the house, and the firearm was not found. The other thing is that the morning that this occurred, there was one of the doors was left ajar in the house. So it appears that someone may have helped, or almost certainly helped, Sarah Grace. And to me, it appears that it could be one of those former boyfriends. Welcome in, Sandra. Sorry, I just saw you there. I I'm becoming a little bit distracted here. Welcome in to all those people who've come in a little bit late. Great to see you here. I know I am becoming a little bit distracted right now, so I will finish talking about the other cases and wrap it up, so probably won't be much longer. So I will definitely be covering more about this Brock family murders. I'm pretty certain that we are going to see another arrest really, really soon. Now, thankfully, Plunder is also on this case, and I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but she has released dispatch audio for this case on her channel, which I think would be extremely interesting to listen to. I have created a playlist for this channel here on my channel, and I've included Paula's dispatch audio in that playlist. I will try and remember to add that in the description section when I finish this live, so that you can hop over and listen. If you've watched my 2 videos that I've already done on this case and you want to hop over and listen to the dispatch audio, then you can do so. But yeah, I think this is a case to watch. I think we are going to see another arrest. I will say, though, that it does appear, from what law enforcement is saying, it does appear that they believe that it was actually Sarah who was responsible for actually pulling the trigger. So if someone helped her out, it sounds like they basically provided the weapon and were aware of what happened. I have so much to say about this case. I will be doing a deep dive into all her TikTok posts, all the comments that were made. I'll also be doing an analysis of her speech that she did at her parents' the eulogy at her parents' funeral, because that's huge as well. Now, I probably should clarify. James was her stepfather, not her father. It was actually her father who made her turn herself in when they became aware of the fact that she was notified and told that there was a warrant out for her arrest. And her father basically said, okay, you are going to do the right thing. I'm going to take you and you are going to go and turn yourself in. So it's quite an extended family. There are multiple siblings involved here. There are a lot of people really hurting over this case. I saw a really interesting interview with her grandfather, which raised questions but also made me feel very sad. And I will be addressing that in a video as well. So there's quite a lot that I will be discussing. In terms of documents, they are sitting on those documents really tight. Paula has attempted to do FOIA requests, and as you know, Paula is the queen of FOIA. If she cannot get hold of something via FOIA, then you know it's going to be a challenge. So she is continuing to try and get hold of those documents. I am incredibly grateful that Paula is covering this case, because as an Australian, there are limitations placed on me within that particular state. So this is in Georgia. I cannot access documents from the courthouse as an Australian. Paula grabbed them for me, thankfully, and gave me everything that was there. But any additional documents, I'm going to be facing the same problems. So super grateful that Paula's on it, and super grateful that she's helping me out with it. Yeah, the eulogy. She actually said "lol" in her eulogy, which made me feel sick. I cannot believe I mean, I understand, she was 16, but unreal. Utterly, utterly unreal. Now, another case that I covered, which is pretty much done and dusted, but if you haven't seen it, there is a case about a lady from Tasmania in Australia who was basically run over by a former partner. I did a video on that case, covering it, discussing what happened, discussing the charges, because he basically he's only going to do 8 years in jail for her death. He was sentenced to 13 with a non-parole period of 8, which means that he'll get out after 8 years. So I did do a video about her case. You may have seen it. I can't remember the title of it, but basically in the heading I made a point of the fact that, is she really only worth 8 years? I have since then, so this is the case of Jackie Purton, who was run over by her boyfriend, James Austin, in a little town called Campania in Tasmania, which is the little state in the bottom of Australia. He was originally charged with the M word, and those charges were downgraded, which basically meant that he ended up with this sentence of only 13 years and parole after 8. I've also since then seen another case, very, very similar, in another state in Australia, where a woman was run over by a former partner and he got even less time. So it's a major, major issue in terms of DV, and it's a major, major injustice for victims of DV. Sorry, all the dogs have just come in here. I don't know where they've been, but I can tell that they're going to be wanting to go outside very soon. Now, another case that I keep saying that I'm covering, and I have done quite a lot of research in the background. I have someone helping me with research in the background. I just haven't gotten around to doing it, and that is the Madalina Kojikari case. And this is a little girl who I think from memory was about 12 years old when she went missing. She was last seen getting off her school bus, and it took her mother about 2 months to report her missing. And that only occurred because someone from the school had contacted her and said, you need to basically bring your daughter to the school and show that she's basically alive and in existence, or we're going to escalate this. At which stage she went, oh, actually, Madalina's been missing for the last 2 months. She was convicted for not reporting her daughter missing. I think she served time. Like I said, it's been a while. I have to go through my notes. But when she was named as a suspect or a person of interest in her daughter's disappearance, she left the country. So there's a huge question mark over the Madalina Kojikari case as to where is Madalina, what happened to her, and why the heck did her mother leave the country when she was named as a person of interest. So that is a case that I will be digging very deeply into. I probably won't be putting anything out on that till after Stearns' trial, because I will, of course, be doing recaps with Stearns' trial. Not sure if I can manage daily, but I will do my best. At the very least, I will be doing, like, at the end of the week, a recap. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Sandra. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, another one that I've been working on, haven't gotten around to actually putting it all together in a video yet, is just a recap of the Suzanne Morphw case. So, some of you may be aware of this case. Her husband, Barry Morphw, has finally been arrested, and it looks like this time it will actually stick, because Susan went missing in May of 2020, and her husband Barry just lied and lied and lied, and it was so clear that he was responsible. At one point in time, he tried to tell them maybe a mountain lion got her, because they found her bike a little ways up the road. But the way her bike was positioned, with no damage whatsoever, at the bottom of a very, very steep bank, made it clear that the bike had been put there deliberately. They arrested Barry for her death and charged him with the M word about a year after Susan went missing. Suzanne, sorry. But the lawyers that were prosecuting it didn't do a very good job. Basically, that whole case got thrown out. Thankfully, it was thrown out without prejudice, meaning that if they had further evidence, they could then come back and bring another case against him for Suzanne's death, which they have. So, about 18 months ago, they found Suzanne's remains finally. And that has allowed them to finally charge Barry over her death. It appears that this time they have plenty that will basically allow them to keep him in jail and will allow them to prosecute his case. So I will be doing a recap of the Suzanne Morphw case for those of you who are not familiar with it, so that when this starts heading to trial, you will know what it is we are talking about. I think Barry expected that they would never find Suzanne. Oh, actually, now I see Jeanette has said the same thing. He thought he was living the high life. After they dismissed his first case, he actually had the temerity to start a civil suit against the state over him being charged that first time round. And I will be going through that civil suit. I've got the documents from that. So I've got a lot of documents relating to this case. So I will definitely be doing more deep dives into that case also. Yeah, his daughters are still supporting him, and that just breaks my heart so much. He is such a manipulative individual that he had his daughters convinced that Suzanne had just up and left, and he has manipulated them so much into supporting him, which is also, it's just horrible playing with their emotions, because they're going to go and they're going to sit through that trial and they're going to learn exactly what their father did. And I can't even begin to imagine how damaging that is going to be for them. I think the youngest daughter would have been 16 or 17 when Suzanne died. The oldest daughter would have been in her early 20s, I believe. There's about a 5-year age gap. So they're still both extremely young. And, they lost their mother, and he manipulated them so much that they believe he's innocent. He isolated them from Suzanne's side of the family. So, and yeah, they're still supporting him because he's done such a number on them, which is just disgusting. Now, of course, the other case, and this one is very dear to my heart, and that is the Phoebe Bishop case. So if you haven't followed my content of the Phoebe Bishop case, I will be doing a recap video soon where I cover Phoebe's case from when she went missing through until the third arrest. So you may not have caught the video that I did a week or so back, but there has been a third arrest in the Phoebe Bishop case. A friend of James, no doubt, trying to help cover his ass, basically. I will be covering as much as I can with Phoebe's case. Depending on when it goes to trial, I may even consider a road trip up to Queensland to cover the trial, but I'm not sure because that's like, 2 states away. It's a huge distance away, and I don't like leaving my puppies for too long. But I certainly will be following Phoebe's case very, very closely. I think all 3 of them are back in court in August, from memory, and I will be, covering as much as I can with them. I have tried to access documentation relating to that case, but it appears that in Australia, unless you're media, even though we do have freedom of information laws here, it is still really hard to get hold of documents, especially when it comes to Queensland. And I need to be careful there, but Queensland justice system is a little bit tricky to navigate from what I've heard. So I think I've covered pretty much everything that I'm going to be looking at in the near future. There is so much that I want to cover right now. But like I said, I thought I needed to jump up and do a live stream just to bring people up to speed with what I'm covering, what I will be covering, and just to touch base because I know that at the moment my videos aren't getting a lot of traction. So I will ask for anyone who is following my videos, who watches my videos, when you watch my videos, please make sure that you hit the like. You can tell I'm becoming distracted now. Amira is snoring really loudly, but it's out in the hallway, so you can't hear her, but I can. So, just to support my channel, hit the like button anytime you're watching my content. Make sure you leave comments on my content. That gives me support, and that just helps to keep this channel moving, helps keep these videos moving. So, on that note, I think I have pretty much covered everything. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you for hitting the like button, because I know most of you have done it, right? Because, you love me. You want to hit that like button so that this gets out into the algorithm. Sorry. 2:19 a.m. in Wales? Wow. Yeah, that would make sense. Thank you, Ada, for your super chat. Love you. Thank you so much for all the support that everyone is giving my channel. As you are aware, it has been a little bit challenging lately, but I'm determined to stick it out. I'm certainly working hard in the background in terms of research, in terms of making sure that I can bring you solid content that is well researched and, factual, because that's what is important to me. It is important to me to be a voice for the victims and to make sure that I'm putting out factual, well-researched information. So, on that note, thank you so much, everyone, for coming in. I think I'm going to leave it at that because I can tell that the dogs are starting to stir and they're just going to lose the plot in a minute. So I probably need to go and give them some attention. And I also need to go and grab myself a drink because I've been talking for over an hour now. So thank you very, very much. Keep an eye out. There will be a video dropping later today, or if you're in America, it'll probably be tomorrow morning. Thank you. I will catch you all later on. Okay, bye.